Today I'm going to show you 3 important purchase reports that you can generate quite easily in GA4. Let's jump in. Right, so what you want to do to build these pivot tables that I'm going to show you today is playing in the Explore and playing in the custom reports or custom explorations. So we're going to click on Explore. We're then going to click on Freeform, and that's going to take us to our general dashboard. Now, typically when we open the Freeform exploration, we're met with location and device category at the top. Now we want to rebuild this whole exploration to make it valuable for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to first get rid of the ones that currently exist. So I'm going to remove city. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and remove device category. And I'm going to remove active users. So now we have basically a blank exploration. From this point onwards, I want to build 2 types of explorations. I want to build an exploration looking at purchases, and I want to build an exploration looking at leads, because you might be a lead store as opposed to an e-commerce store. So I'm going to show you how to build both, and then I'm going to show you how to play with different dimensions and analyze the purchases and leads based on those different dimensions. So let's first scroll down to the bottom, and we're going to see transactions already here. If we don't have it on our automatic default dashboard, I can just type transactions, and we're going to see it here. I can alternatively type purchases or e-commerce purchases, and that should give me the same number. So I can choose e-commerce purchases, I can choose purchases. Any of these should all result in the same metric at the end of the day, but I'm going to leave it as is because we already have transactions selected. Just before we move on from here, I'm going to add conversions. And why I'm doing this is if we don't have an e-commerce store, or even if we want to track different conversions other than a transaction on an e-commerce store, we may want to pivot our table with conversions rather than transactions. So I'm going to show you how to do both. So let's leave these 2 at the bottom here and move slightly up. Now, dimensions is where we can actually select what type of user, or where do we want to actually analyze different users from. And for me, there's probably 3 different dimensions that are actually quite interesting when analyzing the purchases or the leads on our website. So number 1, which is already pre-selected, is city. Number 2, which again is pre-selected, device category. And number 3, which I quite like, is source. So we can do source or medium. Both of them will give us slightly different data. Let's click source medium here, and let's see what it does. Now, in order to build our freeform exploration, all we need to do is basically either drag and drop our dimensions and our metrics to this section, or we can just double click on it. So let's just start with double clicking. So we're going to pivot with transactions, and I'm going to scroll to the top and we're going to choose city. So what I can see here is it shows me that there's been, in this time frame, let's just see what time frame we're looking at. In the last 28 days, there's been 744 transactions. And now I've pivoted according to the different city. So I can see, literally scroll down and see all my cities that I've selected that there's been a transaction for. Let's actually just expand this. It's only showing me a few. So it's showing me 10 rows. Let's expand this to 500 rows just to see everything. And now we can see every city where transactions are taking place. Why this is quite a valuable report is whether we're running Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever ads it may be, we may want to take specific notice of where my transactions come from. So I can see immediately I'm getting 13 transactions from Austin, and I'm only getting 1 transaction from Baltimore. So I maybe want to decrease my bids in Baltimore and increase my bids in Austin, and so on and so on. Just to show you how we can add some other interesting dimensions that we can analyze purchases by, let's get rid of city. So we're going to go to city. We're going to delete city, and we're going to choose device category. And now let's look at where, with which devices our transactions are coming from. And now we're going to see our 744 transactions are split up according to these three types of devices in the following ratio. Let's look at one more interesting dimension analysis. So let's get rid of devices, and let's choose first user medium. That's quite an interesting one. And again, we can see different transactions based on how they got to our site, and so on and so on. There are literally endless dimensions that we can actually analyze our purchases with, or conversions with. We can literally just scroll through here, find the one that's most applicable and most interesting to you, and add it to your free form exploration. One more item which is quite interesting, again, if we want to look at conversions, perhaps leads, add to carts, checkouts, whatever it may be, instead of transactions, all we need to do is, just like we did with with dimensions previously. We're going to delete transactions. We're going to double click on conversions. And again, our pivot will now be according to conversions as opposed to transactions. If there's any questions, please leave so below and I'll be sure to help. Thanks so much.